AMC took Chris Hardwick off their channel also, so there's no more Talking Dead with Chris Hardwick. There's no more Talking Chris Hardwick on AMC. They got an actress to replace him on Talking Dead, but so he no longer has his hosting responsibilities on AMC, and he was also scheduled to do the San Diego Comic-Con this year and host a couple panels, but they took him off that as well.
Huh.
So without taking this to court or going the legal route or anything, just the fact that she publicly accused him of these things, all these companies are like wiping him off of their radar, essentially. Now, with that, the way I see it is, long story short, nobody should have to put up with that kind of treatment in a relationship. He set up rules for you. If what she says is true, yes, the dickhead move. Like paints him as very controlling. No stories of like him hitting her or anything like that. But I could see the mental abuse of I'll love you less if you do this. Also in the list of rules, it's you have to be at the house waiting for me and be ready for sex. No talking when we're out to eat. No taking pictures of us together. Blah blah blah. But that kind of stuff, it contradicts her story, because on her Instagram you see pictures of them together, and that kind of thing, and you hear stories of like she had to go to she went to the hospital, I think, for either surgery or an emergency happened.
Yeah.
And she didn't tell him because she didn't want him to worry. And when he found out, he still ran to the hospital to like hold her hand. Like so that doesn't, I don't know, that doesn't paint the picture of me, or to me, of somebody that's like, well, you have to follow my rules and do as I say. But well, that right there shows me like somebody gives a shit about you. And
I think, well, but and I agree that he probably did care about her, and that I just think like and I don't fucking know anything, so my opinions are just kind of what I think in general about when stuff like this happens. But humans are complicated beings with super complex emotions, and you can have those ground rules as like you can be abusive with good intentions. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly it. He could have very well cared for her,
right?
But at the same time, the way he showed that,
like he still wants her to be successful and do well, and wants to be there for her, but also he puts limits and controls her, and again, I barely know who Chris Hardwick is. I don't know who the woman is.
Yeah.
I think, what I wonder, what I was thinking about when you were explaining, like how he lost all of these deals that, all these things that he's doing. The only thing I could help but think is like, what if he was like, yeah, that was me. I did do this, and like, before you fire me, let's just like, I mean, like a plea deal, like in court, like he's just like, look, I did this, but I understand you have to. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But,
well,
but I also feel like companies have, it just amazes me that like anybody, and if this happened years ago, but like if you've done anything like this in the past like 15 years, you know how easy it is for information to get out, even if it's not true. But like, it's super easy for the information to get out. Why would you like ever put yourself in that position? Because companies will drop you in a second. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, they have a business to run, and well, if they keep you on, like the risk is just not worth it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I get hung up on is the fact that, again, these are just accusations.
Right.
Never mentions him by name, but you get the idea, you get the hint, the picture, whatever.
Sure.
It's not a flood of people saying these things about him. It's
Right.
one person accusing him of it.
Yeah.
And it's so far it's just her word, like nothing's proven.
Right.
You know, and these places drop him. This is his livelihood. This would be the same thing as a girl saying that you came up with rules for her being with you,
Yes.
and then going to your employer and saying, "Hey, he was a dickhead," and your employer being like, "Well, we can't allow that shit, Jake. You're fired."
Right.
You know.
No.
It's. I don't know. There's not a lot.
You kind of like you wish that the companies would like make a statement or something so that you knew. You know, like.
Yeah. Well, they did. They've everybody that's cut ties with him or whatever has put out a statement saying that we're choosing to sever ties with Chris Hardwick, until our own investigation has been done, blah blah blah, and each one of them has said that until our own investigation is done. But so you wipe him off the board before an investigation is done? I don't understand it. Now, on top of that too, Chris Hardwick has come forward and made a statement a couple days after this initial post came out, and mentioned that he was heartbroken that she would write something like this or whatever. He's like completely floored, whatever, blah blah blah. When asked for comments, he made mention. He's like, we broke up because I broke up with her. She cheated on me, and she wanted to get back with me, and I said no, I couldn't be with somebody that was unfaithful. And that was it. Like, he's shown text messages between them and all that, and yada yada, and so it almost comes off as like she's the jilted lover, and she's doing whatever she can to kind of drag him through the dirt. Chris Hardwick now is married and has been married for almost a year plus, and his wife has come out and said that's not who Chris is. I'd stand with my husband, like I back him up. She's like, abuse is wrong, period. Abuse is bad,
right?
But everything she's saying about my husband, I can't fathom that it's actually true.
Right.
So, and then on top of that, a few other female friend actresses of Chris have come out and said that's not who Chris Hardwick is. And they're like backing him up on Twitter.
Right.
Twitter is a flutter with a bunch of people that are just like, I've always known Chris Hardwick was a piece of shit, blah, blah. Like, all these people, Chris Hardwick's got 3 million fucking followers on Twitter.
Right.
But all these people now, and that's the thing, we're not saying anything bad about Chris Hardwick before all this. But now that Chloe Dykstra's come out and said this, they're like, I've always known he was a piece of shit. Really, bandwagon?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I can't get behind the let's bury a guy because one person said, well, he did this to me. Like, okay, all right. If that's true, I'm sorry. That sucks. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I still need undeniable, like, proof or anything showing me, like, oh yeah, that shit probably did happen.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever heard the man speak, he's been very smart, very well educated on a lot of different things, and nerd related and just life related. Just seems pretty down to earth. Seems to get it.
Right.
I'm having trouble blurring that line and saying that in front of everybody he's this well-educated, very logical, caring person, and then behind the scenes, snaps his fingers and wants something done. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's very hard to immediately jump to, yep, that's what's happening.
No, and I get that, but so when you were saying like this very like logical and like probably nice guy, like just snaps, but then I think about the Matt Lauer thing.
Yeah,
like Matt. I always thought he was like the nicest guy.
Yeah,
and then I found out he's got secret locks and switches in his office so that women can't. And I was like, holy shit!
Right,
like that is not.
Right, that's something a fucking evil villain would do in a movie.
That's like, yeah.
But so it's become, I don't know, it's become so big in the fact that, you've got people on either side of the aisle, like I stand with Chris Hardwick, and then there's the other side that's like, I stand with Chloe. I agree with her. Chris Hardwick is a piece of shit, and all this shit.
That's the other thing, man. I don't understand. Like, this is like I don't know. I don't know if it's millennials, but like the generation after them, they just like, if somebody does anything wrong, that person is the worst person for the rest of their lives. There's no redemption.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah.
Let people make mistakes. I mean, I get, like, if somebody hurts you specifically, you maybe want nothing to do with them, right?
Yeah.
But I just think, like, people can and do change. Like, people make really horrible mistakes, and then,
Absolutely.
They get better. Sometimes they don't, but, like, if you just label them a demon or a monster from the get because they made one mistake.
Yeah.
I don't think you're any better than them.
No, I just can't. I don't know. I'm having trouble because I've been a fan of the guy for a while, and that being a fan of somebody does not excuse them for doing dirty shit.
Right.
But at the same time, seeing as much of his work and hearing about him and just everything I've taken in about this guy does not paint the same picture that she lays out. But at the same time, if anybody knows him, it's somebody that's been in a relationship with the guy, has been that close to him over as long a period as 3 years or more. So I don't know. I at the end of the day, I hope that she's exaggerating things. I hope that she's twisting things to make them work. I hope she's fibbing. I hope she's just trying to get the attention. But I do think that if it comes forward like, yeah, this is true. Like, he did this, he did that. Excuse me. He's laid out all these rules and guidelines for her to follow in order to keep their relationship going. It's like, yeah, then but at the end of the day, I don't believe that he should have his livelihood taken away from him.
Yeah.
I don't think that the same way as a bunch of these people didn't know who the fuck Chloe Dykstra was before she came out and wrote this article. But now, after she wrote it, we'll come out and go, hey, I work for this company or that company or whatever. I heard your story and it clicked with me. I'd like to get you some work working here or doing this commercial or doing this show or doing this movie, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't, like, if you were unwilling to hire her before all this shit, but now you are, that, I don't know. I look at that the same way as wanting to erase this guy completely off the map.